I would not be able to understand this beautiful freedom that I now possess if I hadn't have felt the bondage of all the dogma.
This week's guest is Kelly Bowker, who is a self proclaimed country girl turned angelic channeler. She is a spiritual mentor and a light language, and someone who does light language, which is what made me want to connect with her in the first place. I saw her on a podcast called Next Level Soul with Alex Ferrari. That video has been viewed over 225,000 times. How cool is that? And when she spoke light language, I was like, hold on a sec. That's speaking in tongues. That's something that I grew up with. That's something that I've done. And I really wanted to connect with her to talk more about that. And I was really excited when she reached out back to me and we made this happen. This is a first for my channel. I've never had a channeler on, and I've never heard a channeled message live like this. It was a very interesting experience. I would love to encourage you to come into this with an open mind. I'm not asking you to believe anything that's too far out for you, but just see if what she says resonates with you, because it sure resonated with me. And it was just amazing to listen to it again as I was editing it, just to take that message in again. So,
Heartfelt conversations can change the world. Here's the Epic Kate podcast.
hello! Thank you so much for being on my podcast, Kelly. It's just an honor to have you here.
I am thrilled to be here, Katie.
Yes. Let's see. Microphone plugged in? No, it's not. I'm a professional.
I relate. I relate. Truly, truly, truly. It's like, who said, just because we're on this spiritual journey doesn't mean we know jack crap about friggin' technology.
Oh boy. I had a conversation with a friend from my podcast yesterday, and she was like, embrace the things going wrong and just know that you're getting better. And I'm like, yes, it's
That's
true.
right. Exactly. Exactly. That's a good mantra for life.
Yeah, for sure. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, we are on a spiritual journey, and I'm just so interested to hear how people get from A to X, like
Yeah.
these, I'm so interested in the pivots and the opening up to the magic. And
That's
with your
exactly what it
story,
is.
you're so magical. I
Thank you.
found you through Next Level Soul.
Yeah.
I just so admire Alex Ferrari and the work that he's doing.
I do
And
as well.
I would love to just go back in time in your life. What was like the first magical thing that you remember? The first connection you had to, wow, this world is a lot bigger than just my family.
Well, I think it would bear going back to the roots. So my roots are I've always been very spiritual. I was basically I'm raised in a Baptist town and have got some Baptist background and I have some Pentecostal background, which is very, very rooted in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And when I would pray as a young girl, I would pray and I felt the Holy Spirit. I felt that welling, I felt that drawing. It was so real. And because of that, and it is exactly the Holy Spirit that's within us, it is absolutely the Holy Spirit. But because of that visceral experience coming to me through the learning in the church, it gave, I had this left brain understanding, well, if that's my truth and I feel it and know that's my truth, then all the other crap that he's saying must be true too. And that took me down a path that has been, I was in a meditation this morning releasing some of my dogmatic beliefs from childhood. Excuse me. So my journey has always been with a great love for the all in whatever language we want to talk about it. For me, I'm very comfortable saying God. I loved God with my whole heart. But as I began to age and come into myself, I began to know that these dogmatic beliefs just didn't make sense to me and they didn't resonate. I didn't get that feeling of knowing. And so through my journey, I stepped away from that part of it. When I went to the Pentecostal church, I was right here on this piece of property. I live on where my mother and father had a camp. We bought the property and have built a house on a beautiful lake in Maine. And I was sitting down front. This was 30 years ago. I was sitting down front and I was praying. And I had been going to the Pentecostal church, and they talked about being slayed in the spirit and how you would be overwhelmed and you would begin to speak in the tongues of angels, is how they talked about this. And I wanted that. I wanted that connection. I wanted that so badly. And I was sitting right down here on the beach, and I just was praying from my heart through love and just with surrender and abandon. And by golly, I started to speak in tongues and did not understand what I was saying. So that was part of what happened at that time. But also some of the stuff that was going on in my life at that time was my husband and I were not doing well. And because we weren't doing well, I dove hard into my religion, and he blamed all of our problems on religion. But it wasn't. It was because I was unhappy, so that's why I went to religion. But fast forward, we got through that, but the strictness and the rules of religion, I needed to step away from to step fully into my marriage. And with that, I let go of the light language. I at the time, speaking in tongues, I let go of that. I knew I could do it, but I just chose not to because it kind of represented that time in my life. So then fast forward, and I happened when everybody else did with The Secret. I happened into the Abraham Hicks teachings. That was the first channeled material. No, it was the second. I read Neil Donald Walsh's books. And that was the very first channeled material that I ever was exposed to. And I could hear that voice when I read his words. There was such a familiar feeling to it. Katie, I can remember in my life saying to my friends, but I thought it was the way it was for everybody. I can remember saying to them, I can ask a question in my head and wait a second and I get the answer. But I thought that's the way it was for everybody. And well, evidently that's not the case. But that was my brain. It was the brain I always had. You know, I was a kid with 30-year-olds asking my advice. Where did I get that wisdom from? So it's always kind of been part of who I am. And I studied the Abraham Hicks stuff, and I loved that work. And that work is for any of your listeners, there is a complete truth in that teaching. But it left me wanting more. I missed praying. I missed my connection to God. You know, studying the law of attraction means, and it's true, we do create our own world, but who do I pray to if I'm doing it all? Who do I pray to? That was confusing to me. And I missed that connection. I missed that feeling that there was a power greater than me that loved me and cared about me and was guiding my steps. That part was lacking in the Secret and in the Abraham Hicks teachings. It just, that was the part that was missing for me.
Can
So,
we actually?
go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was just wanting to pop in and ask, how did you? When in this time did you go back to speaking in tongues / light language?
I will get there.
Oh,
I
okay.
will get there.
Oh, righty.
It's an unfolding. It really is an
Gotcha.
unfolding. So I was in a place of discontent spiritually. I didn't feel connected. Stuff was happening at work that I was feeling disconnected and unhappy. I was approaching 60. You know, it was probably all really began right around 55, and I'm 61 now. My health started to go to pieces. Lots of different things. One of the things I can tell you that I'm sure you already know is that our team taps us, they pat us, they nudge us, and if you aren't listening, you're going to get a 2x4 upside the head. There's going to be the big thing that's going to get your attention if you are not on the path to your highest self. And you either listen or you don't. And you can get hit by the 2x4 and you can work with your 3D abilities out of the problem. Yeah, you can. But if you are spiritually oriented, you realize, okay, something is going wrong in my life. What is up with this? And that's where I was. So I began meditating as a response to my health and my unhappiness. This was, 5-6 years ago. I began meditating. Things came to a point with me about 3 years ago. Came to a head. And in my meditations, now I know they were really trying to get my attention. I was feeling touches. I was feeling touches on my hands. I would get this, back then I didn't know it was my guides, but I'd get the nudge, open your eyes. And I'd open my eyes and like I would look at my hand and my hand would disappear. I would literally, I was meditating and sitting up one day and they said, open your eyes and look at your legs. And I looked down and I could see the flowers and the comforter that I was sitting on through my thighs. I could see through my thighs. That was pretty. And of course, the minute that happens, you're in your head going, holy shit, and then it pops you out of your meditation. So there is that. But anyway, so time's going on. I decided all my tools that I normally could use to make myself be okay were not working. So I started some counseling. In my counseling in November of 2021, November of 21, my counselor said, you need to look up what it means to be an empath. And when I did that, the cork came out of the genie's bottle. I shared with her some of the weird things that were happening with the energy and my things, and she's like, you need to look this up. When I looked it up, it gave them the ability to lead me to this video and that video and that video, and all of these knowings just started to coalesce, and I'm like, okay. Well, so one of the things that I happened onto was Suzanne Giesemann, and she talked about her awakening and that she did automatic writing. And I tried to do automatic writing and I couldn't. In the same way that when my counselor tried to teach me about my inner child, she said, journal to your inner child. I couldn't because I can't spell. So I would get into an emotional or a spiritual space and of meditative space, and I'd get stuck on a word that I couldn't spell, and it would bring me back to reality, and it just wasn't good. So for my inner child work with my counselor, I used my memo thing on my iPhone. So one day, my husband was gone. This was in January, so only a couple of months after she told me to look that up, doing my meditations. I take my phone, I lay it on my chest, I go into meditation, and they're nudging me. And they're saying, speak. And so I'm saying, let the words come, let the words come, let the words come. I just started chanting, let the words come, let the words come. And whoosh, they came. And I started a conversation, and in that first conversation, I tried to ask a question out loud, and I couldn't shift back and forth. And they said in my mind through telepathy, they said, speak the words, speak the question. And I said, but I want it on the recording because I was recording it. And they said, we will repeat it. And I said, okay. So I started this dialogue, started going along. That was January 11th of 2022, right? 22, 23, yes, 22. And in March, I did my first mediumship reading. It lasted for over an hour. I channeled the person that I brought through, which I didn't realize that all mediums don't do that. At the time, I had no frame of reference for any of this stuff. My religious beliefs of youth told me all of this stuff needed to be avoided. It was bad. So I had put out all kinds of boundaries, and it took time. I mean, God, I'm 60, for heaven's sake. Damn, why did it take so damn long? I wish, but it didn't. It did, I mean. So anyway, so I did my first mediumship reading and brought through beautiful concrete evidence. It lasted an hour. Within that hour, I got up, got a tissue, blew my nose. The girl and I were laughing together saying, can you believe this crap? And that man's the man that I was channeling, his energy reared back up again, and I was like, this was my very first time. I'm like, oh, he's not done. And we sit back down, and I begin channeling again. I comment to that because a lot of what you see out online says that it's hard to hold the link. I don't think that that's really the truth for everybody, because it's not hard for me to hold the link. I can jump in and out, but I don't do mediumship anymore. But that's a different story. So that was in March. In June, I'm living my life. I'm thinking I'm going to be a medium. I'm thinking that's what it's all about. I'm feeling like this is a calling. I've been practicing my mediumship, and in June, at that time, my channeling was mostly just for me, asking questions of the all, my guides, and getting the answers. The energy was pretty consistent. I'm sitting in meditation, laying back in meditation in a recliner this particular morning, and all of a sudden, energy started at my feet, and this roar of energy came through my body, came right up my body, right up my front, right up. And I'm in my head. Telepathy is instantaneous, but to speak it, you have to talk it in order. So that's what I'm going to do. In my head, I'm like, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, to my guides. And they said, then stop. And I said, I can stop. And they said, you always have, free will is absolute. And I'm like, is it for my highest good? And they said, yes. And I said, then just don't leave me, I'm scared. And they said, we'll never leave you. And they pulled their energy around me, and I could feel the energy pulled tight around me. And what was happening while I was talking in my head, my hands had started to go, and I was doing light language. I just started and so my mouth is going light language, my hands are doing light language, and I'm talking in my head to my guides. And when the light language came through, it's like they unplugged me from 110 and they plugged me into 220. And it has been a non-ending developmental road since, with incredibly amazing downloads of information. I've written 2 books since that time, and published them on Amazon. It's been a journey.
It's so wonderful to hear, and it's so interesting. It raises up a million questions. But
Ask away.
so I had received speaking in tongues when I was about 13 years old, and I was all about it. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever and wanted to do it all the time. And when they prayed for me at first, it was a weekend youth retreat, and it didn't work. And they were like, open your mouth and let the murmurings of the Holy Spirit come out. And they were praying and praying, and I was finally like, I don't know how. And they were like, okay. And they got someone else to come and pray for me, and eventually it came. But in this process of deconstructing and just the poop show that evangelicals have made of the teachings of Jesus, and
I know.
Trumpism and COVID responses and all these things, it just made me so hurt. I'm not in that place of hurt and anger now. Now I'm in a place of, woo, ghosts.
Seeking.
Ghosts and gnomes and mermaids can all be real. Yay.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Now I'm like in a place of joy, but I still have this block against actually. It blew my mind when I heard people speaking in tongues, and then they called it light language. Like, wait, this actually is a thing that is real?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So you want to talk about light language a little?
I want to know, for people who had spiritual gifts, spiritual experiences within Christianity, but then became disillusioned by it, like people like me, how do you embrace, how do I embrace speaking in tongues again? And how do I, yeah.
They're wanting to come through. Can I let them answer?
Oh, sure.
Okay, because in my head saying, and they're like, we want to speak. Okay.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful, remarkable thing, and I'm humbled to hold space for it. And that's all I do. That's all I do is hold the space, but they definitely want to answer. So give me just a minute. You came forward, dear one, with the intention to take the ride on the merry-go-round called Earth. There are many, many games, many places, dimensions, and realms that one can choose to incarnate. It is limitless, and indeed there are the mermaids in those places, the unicorns and the magic. But you chose planet Earth that has its own set of rules for the game. One of those rules is duality, which creates judgment, that for something to be good, something must not be good. For there to be up, there must be a down. Joy must be reflected in sorrow. Those are some of the basic premises of that which is duality. You agreed to many rules. You agreed to free will. You agreed to linear time and space and the understanding and limitations that puts on your mind. You also agreed to the programming that happens to all humans from the time that they are conceived until the time of approximately 7 to 9 years old. Your psychology understands this and refers to it as the inner child. It is indeed one of the agreements that was put into place prior to humans coming forth. Within all of that, it is the object of the game, so to speak, is to remember back to who you really are. When you step into these religions, the thing that draws you in is indeed the spirit that lives within you that knows there is more. There is more to what is around than this 3D world that I'm looking at. You have the longing that is part of what that spiritual part of you is for and does. It is the part of you that breathes life into this body. But you have all of the 3D experiences that go into making life on planet Earth. And it is up to you to wade through, to use your own inner guidance, your own inner voice. There are no wrong paths, dear one. Those who stay close to that Pentecostal teaching, that is their correct path. There are no judgments from this side, but it is also perfectly right to be over here seeking as well. So when you tip your toe, as you did as a young one, into the magnificence of having the spirit within you raise and overcome and absorb, and because you were so enamored and had so much love in your heart for that which you saw as God, you were able to surrender, and a little piece of your divinity was able to rise up. It is part of your divinity, dear girl. It is part of the all. But you can choose it or not. It is, what does it feel for you? If you allow the language of light to come through, and it is still so attached to the beliefs of childhood that it makes you cringe, then the timing is not right. There is work you can do between that which is your divine self and that which is the programming of humanity. There is concrete 3D steps to take to create the collaboration within this lifetime. And all, it is available to all. Would you ask for more clarification?
I'm looking forward to listening to this again, to, soaking that in, because that's
I know.
the best I've ever heard of explaining. It's such poetry.
Yeah, they're
I
good.
want
It's them though. I want a little, you could put it, no, I don't mean that,
are
but a little disclaimer that if you've never had a channel, I just want to take just a minute and explain to you and your audience. A channel is merely a space holder. I literally, my job is to allow. I just can allow. And I don't know why I can allow, but I can.
who
And go ahead.
who is it that you are channeling?
That is a wonderful question that everybody asks. And I have begun, here they come. So, my physical tell, I have a tell and it's my jaw shivering. And sometimes you can see it, sometimes I just feel it. But there's a lot of humor on the other side, and they always drop in, what is she not channeling? Who is she not channeling? When there is a question, I open and I reach. It's not even a conscious thing. It's just a and it's, I feel it began in my journey. They dropped the words, the four corners. They would say reach to the four corners, and I just felt like I was putting out telephone lines in 1,000 directions all across. And they've given me the words dimensions, timelines, incarnations, and realms. Because it might be me in a different incarnation that has the answer that I'm looking for. So I'm reaching. I reach, and the beings of light and love that have the best answer for you, because your higher self and my higher self and the higher self of anyone who ever listens to this recording, because all time is now, their higher self, they all know who will listen to this. And the energy of all of the higher selves that are going to hear these words are bringing through the answer that is the best for them.
It's so funny that the dualism thing came up with such patience, and it's that dualism that led me on the woo-woo path,
Right.
because I was like, well, if they who I thought were the good guys are the bad guys, then who I thought was the bad guys must be the good guys.
Well, that's a good way to put it. But I would bring through, yeah, okay.
I
There,
know it's simplistic.
no, no, it's perfect. It's not. It's very big actually. But they're wanting me to talk about a day when I happened to watch a very disturbing documentary. I'm usually pretty careful about what I let come in, but I was bored and I let myself watch this stupid documentary. It was 4 parts about one of the sects, I don't know how to say that, that is a branch off of the Latter-day Saints. They still do the big, huge brides, and their leader is actually in prison, I believe, still today because of the awfulness and the keep sweet and the degradation of women and all of this stuff. So and awful things. The first three were uncomfortable, but the last one, they're giving these little 9-year-old girls to these 80-year-old men as another friggin' wife. I mean, it was disgusting. And I was so pissed off because here I am on this journey, blending myself with the light, which is what this feels like. But yet, here I open my eyes into my reality, and this is happening today. This man is in prison now, and his devoted followers are carrying on the traditions, and it's being allowed. kill a damn dog and oh my God, you're going to be in jail. But holy cow, these people can do all this crap to these kids and it's perfectly fine. Okay, that's, you can see, the human in Kelly still very much exists. When that happened, that night I had to, Michael and I always go to bed together. I said, baby, I've got to have some prayer time. And I just sat and I just poured light language. I just bathed myself in light language to take that, and I just, with the intention, take away this awful energy so I can sleep, and we're having a talk tomorrow. This happened a year and a half ago. So I get up in the morning, get Mike off to work, and I sit in meditation and I said, please explain this. How can this be happening? How can it be happening? I'm just asking them if they want to answer. Yeah, I'm going to shift. There are understandings within this dimension that are very difficult for the human to wrap their mind around. It still challenges this one, as you saw the passion come up in the injustice. What is very difficult for you to understand, however true it is from the perspective of source energy, from the perspective of non-physical. There is not a gradient of good and bad experiences. That gradient of the atrocity versus the stubbed toe is a direct result of duality. It is the experience of Earth. So from our perspective, it would be like you all sitting in front of your television with your remote, clicking through the channels, stopping on the atrocity, the terrible, awful happenings that are going on your TV, and clicking by that to the Mary Poppins skipping along the merry way. That is the perspective. That is not easy for you to hear, we know. But we give it to you as the beginning foundation for your understanding. There are no judgments, dear ones. There are no judgments. You speak, Kelly spoke with such passion and judgment, honestly, and disdain and almost hatred of the one that is in prison. But we would remind her and you that when that person was non-physical, and that group of souls that make up those within that following, they have traveled many lifetimes. They have traveled many, many experiences together. So the one who has been the perpetrator agreed to lower their frequency to the point and experience in their young life, knowing the programming would be laid into place. They agreed to that, to be so separate from their own inner voice throughout this one incarnation that they do not hear the whispers, they do not feel the nudges that you are on the wrong path. They agreed to that out of love, dear one. Out of the love for those who had the opportunity of the atrocity. We know those words are difficult to hear. We understand and we send you great love and compassion. But that is the basis of understanding. You've asked so many times, you meaning humanity, crying out in your heart to God, why? Why do you allow these awful things to happen to these innocent ones? And we would say to you that all who come forward are old souls. The Earth School is a difficult undertaking. It is not for the faint of heart. The souls who come forward have great intention set prior to coming to the earth school. They have great intentions to learn what they need to learn to listen to their own guidance, their own inner voice. And these experiences are what bring you to this present moment. And there is no judgment on this side. It's a big pill to swallow.
I've listened to a lot of these podcasts, so I've heard these concepts before, and I wonder how this resonates with my listeners. That
it isn't going to settle, because I can tell you that in the day that came to me, I was sobbing. I was sobbing because I was experiencing it, so I know it's true. But the human in me is like, what the fuck? And I screamed with everything, tears sobbing down my face. I screamed, "You treat us like we're a bunch of friggin' bugs in a petri dish." And that was how I felt, like we're some damn experiment that they're friggin' with. That's what it felt like to me in that moment. So love yourself through this. Let it be what resonates. Take what resonates. This is a huge thing. And you know what? One of the blessings of light language is it has the ability to come in and bring clarity, bring the frequencies and the codes for your own psyche, your own nervous system. It can come into your nervous system and help you to understand, help this seed to at least implant. It doesn't have to grow yet, but it's one of the seeds. So I'm going to just bring through just a little bit of light language for you, okay? So, and you just in your heart say yes. Say yes, because all of the beings in the universe care about you and Kelly, understanding and absorbing these knowings. We are here for you. Hariatozia makiano kuro satiana kaya tatukaya tiano kumana kia siara katiana ko. Atiania kumian kia rukozia tiana no komaki. Arakuria na kia no numana kozumia na kuria na kia na ke. Orio no ko. Asia tiaro koria naka horia na kia ta tiaro konaki.
The thing that's on my heart is the struggle of the people who grew up in very religious environments that had these innate spiritual gifts, this innate love. They just got trampled in the machine of organized religion and being chewed up and spat out. And there I am speaking in dualistic ways again, but we are.
But would they know what they know without
that's
the
true.
Contrast?
Absolutely. So
I would not be able to understand this beautiful freedom that I now possess if I hadn't have felt the bondage of all the dogma. How can I feel, my gosh, Katie, for the first time in my life, I'm 61 years old. I feel free to express any emotion that I feel, knowing that I can be angry and I'm not making Jesus cry. That's what you was told that too, I'm sure. That if we have a negative, God knows our thoughts. If we have a negative thought, so how the hell you're always falling short? You're always less than. How do you feel this freedom if you don't know that? And no, it's not everybody's path, but it's the path you chose. You chose your parents. You chose where you lived. You chose, and the people that are listening who are digging and swimming their way out of all of that and the guilt that you feel for even entertaining an idea that we are more than what we have been told. As you are experiencing that, you know the truth by the love you feel in your heart. And that, dear one, is God. When it resonates, when you click on that video and it feels like, yeah, okay, you're not ready for that. You're not within the frequency of that yet. If it doesn't resonate, let it go. Let the seeds be there. They will germinate. You will be exposed to the sun, my darling girl, and it will blossom and it will grow within you. And that's the way it works, and it's what you chose. If I could say, to answer the question, how do they overcome it? How do they whatever? Take the truth of the validation and the empowerment that it's what you chose. They have shown me a big table. This is, I know it's a metaphor, but this is what they show me when I talk about this. A big table and all these entities being around this table. So let's say it's Katie. Katie is, the spirit that is Katie is going to incarnate as Katie. You are part of a huge oversoul. You are just a fractal of the all that you are. You are sitting around a table with all the souls who love you. All the souls who want you to grow and to be all that you can be on this earth. And Katie says, I want it to be tough. I'm ready. Put me in, coach. I'm ready. I want it to be really hard, and I know my heart. I want to learn empowerment. I want to learn freedom. That's what Kelly Colleen said. And how do we learn that? We put ourselves into a place where we are in bondage. And it might take lifetime after lifetime to burst forth. They told me that in that sect, the souls that incarnate as women, we choose our parents, and our sex. The souls that incarnate within that, they knew that they either were going to rebel and break free, or they were going to learn, and the path would be to learn the love and the acceptance of settling right in and being what you're told to be and finding the joy and the love in that. That is not a wrong path. That is not a wrong path. But neither is the rebellion and the breaking free. It's all to learn whatever it is that you're supposed to learn. So take that validation, take that empowerment, meditate on that. I chose this. I chose this. When you look at this earth, any moment that you spend judging one political party against another is a moment you lost. Because all of that doesn't make any sense. Are they here? Do I see these people? They're not affecting me. They're not. And yes, you can go into their effect in the world. Not my world. Not my timeline. I don't choose Trumpism. I don't choose COVID. I don't choose any of that bullshit. It's not part of my world. My timeline is rainbows, unicorns, and I'm going to throw in those mermaids you spoke of when we began. That's my world. I live a life of magic because that's what I choose. And we all have the ability to choose. They gave me a download once that showed my body and infinite timelines coming out from this present moment. And this is the truth for us all. We have all the timelines of all the possibilities. If you have dreamt it, if you have seen it in a movie, there is a timeline that holds that reality for you. Okay? Now that's a big thing too to accept. We are on a surfboard called frequency, riding these timelines. Where is your frequency? Second by second, your frequency changes. How in control of your frequency are you? How often are you in that vibration of judgment, duality? How often are you in the judgment of freedom and love? We shift all the time, all the time. I want to be up here on this end, heading to nirvana. I've had people ask the guides, and I can channel Mother Earth, which I've done before. I don't do it on demand. When she wants to come through, she comes through. But a question was asked, is the world going to come to an end? And the answer is yes, if you're vibrating with that. There is a timeline that the earth goes through. I have a thing in my called what is in for spiritual beliefs when everything goes to hell at the end of the world? The rapture.
Armageddon?
The rapture.
Oh
I
yeah.
have I have a thing called the rapture in my phone because one day I was thinking there are people, if we're creating our own world and people believe completely in the rapture, how is that not going to happen? And that was when they gave me another layer of knowing around all these timelines. For them, it will. For them, they will experience that. The people who are on that path, they will. That is a very potential in their world. I am going to experience rainbows and unicorns. I'm going to fly my unicorn out into the stars and I'm going to sprinkle my magic pixie dust all over all the worlds. And that's what I'm going to be doing.
I,
So, which timeline do you want to be on?
before for the last bit of this conversation, is there anybody that wants to come through specifically for this time, for this podcast, for these listeners, for me, and have one last message for us?
So, I'm going to word that. What would be your parting words to this group of empowerment? What is their next best step? We would bring through the knowing around the energetic body of the human. The human is made up of a physical body, emotional body, and mental body. But they are also an energetic body. That is the part of them that is connected to us. That is the breath of life that has been breathed into these bones and flesh and matter. Tend to your energy body, dear ones. There is great knowing out there around the chakra system and the angel team that tends to each individual chakra system. There is great power, great clarity, great paving of the way to your awakening in the simple 6-step meditation or process that we have brought through to Kelly. It is a simple process that you can find many examples of on her YouTube channel. It is a process of cleansing your energy, calling all of your energy back, protecting your energy, balancing your energy, grounding your energy. These things are important daily in the same way that you wash your hair and brush your teeth. Your energy needs to be tended to, dear one, and that will help you crawl your way out of the dogmatic beliefs of the programming of the humanity that is you.
Wonderful.
On my YouTube channel, it's called the 6-Point Meditation. You'll find it in a variety of orders. They change it, and I'm feeling like they're getting ready to change it up again. I don't know why that is, but I just follow the yellow brick road. And this meditation has changed. I was definitely, I've only been at this 2 years, and I'm pretty far along on this journey. I don't mean that in a braggy way. It's just the truth of the ability of the energy to come through. In November of this year is when things fell into place and I started to understand some big pieces that are part of the 6-Point Meditation. In my second book, I also refer, I know you have to run, but I also refer to the angels. The angels of the chakra system came through to me in my second book. My book is called Establishing Your Frequency. And it talks about how to maintain your frequency and then 9 angels came through by name, and they gave me a few pages each for each of the angel. And that's when they taught me about the chakra system. But that was way back a year ago. I still, being human, didn't take it all in until some things fell into place for me, some knowings. And then I was like, oh, this is what the angels were talking about. Duh. Yeah, you got 9 angels, Kelly comes through and says, pay attention to your chakra system. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need that. That's hooey. Me saying something is woo-woo, It's like, how much more woo-woo can you get?
This has just been so wonderful. I really, really wish that I could just keep talking to you for like 7 more hours, but
Well,
I will have to let you go and pick up my kids. But I just want to
yeah,
say thank you so much for taking this time.
you are
And
welcome.
the way that
You
I
are
end my
welcome.
conversations is I give hugs.
I'll take it. I'll take it. But I do want to say to you and your listeners, check out
Yes,
my YouTube channel. It's
yes.
Present Moment Magic. Check out I have a website, presentmomentmagic.net. And it will take you to my booking site. I don't put a lot of one-to-ones out there anymore, but I do classes. I do Zoom groups. And it's just like what we're doing right here. We sit and we talk, we ask the guides questions, we expand together. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And it's very cost effective. But with
And
you being where you are, I don't know about the time because I do them at different times. So
I'll put all the links that you give me. You can email them and I'll put them in the description / show
awesome.
notes.
Thank
And I
you.
encourage that.
All right, blessings to you all.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, my cat is going to knock the phone over. Thank you so much for listening to this conversation. If you've made it this far, please leave a comment. Please tell me what you thought about this amazing conversation. And if you'd like to reach out to Kelly, you can find you can find the link to her website in the description or in the show notes, or however you are viewing / listening to this. I upload these videos. I upload this to YouTube in video format and to Spotify as of now, 2024, audio only. So happy to have you here. Please follow or subscribe. Please share this with someone that you think would appreciate it. And you can find me on some socials that I will put the links to. So, thanks for being here. Hugs! I'm so glad you're still here. Please like this video, share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe. Bye!